My name is Emily. I left town for work and came back to find a house I legally inherited, already sold by my own mother. No warning, no discussion, just paperwork waiting for me. If you've ever had family decide for you without asking, share your story in the comments. The key didn't turn. That was the first problem. It slid into the lock, met resistance, and stopped like it had reached a limit it no longer recognized. A second try didn't change anything. The porch light flicked on, and a voice came from behind the door. "Can I help you?" A man opened it halfway. He held a folder against his chest, neat, labeled. His eyes moved from my face to the key in my hand. "This is my house," I said. He didn't argue. He stepped back, pulled a sheet from the folder, and pointed to a name that wasn't mine. The address matched. The date was recent. The sale price sat in bold. $120,000. "I bought it last month," he said. "Everything went through." My phone was already out. Linda answered on the third ring. "You sold the house?" I asked. A pause, short but measured. "Yes," she said. "I meant to tell you." "For how much?" $120. "Why?" "It was necessary," she said. "The money went to family debt." The man shifted his weight. He checked his watch without apology. "I'll need you to take personal items today," he said. "The realtor told me this might happen." Linda kept talking about stress, about timing, about how paperwork complicates things when people are traveling. No one raised their voice. That made it worse. "I'll call you later," I said, and ended it. The man stepped aside, not an invitation, a courtesy. He stayed close while I moved through rooms that no longer belonged to me. A few clothes went into a bag, documents into another. The photo frame stayed. So did the couch. The refrigerator hummed, doing its job for someone else. At the doorway, he handed me a printed notice. "Just a formality," he said. "My lawyer likes everything documented." Outside, the air pressed down harder than expected. The bag cut into my shoulder. A neighbor waved, confused, then looked away when no wave came back. The car unlocked with a soft beep. I set the bags in the back seat. Before closing the door, my phone vibrated. Subject: confirmation of sale. Sender: County Records Office. The message thanked me for my interest and informed me the transaction had been finalized. No greeting, no questions, just a confirmation number and a link to request copies for my records. The phone didn't stop once the car merged back into traffic. Calls stacked on top of messages, then messages turned into missed calls. An aunt left a voicemail asking what had happened, her tone already leaning toward advice. A cousin texted a single sentence: "Your mom's under a lot right now." No questions, just positioning. At a red light, another number came through. My uncle. "You don't need to turn this into a thing," he said. "Families handle stuff privately." "I wasn't the one who sold it," I replied. A pause followed, the kind that meant he'd already decided how the conversation would go. She did what she thought was best. The light changed. The call ended before a response formed. Work picked up where everything else fell apart. The office didn't ask for details, only availability. When I requested extra hours, my manager leaned back in his chair and glanced at the schedule. "You moving?" he asked. "For now." He nodded, typed something, and approved the overtime without commentary. That felt generous. The job ran on deadlines and invoices, not family explanations. Paperwork made sense here. Linda texted twice before lunch. "We'll talk tonight. You know I wouldn't hurt you on purpose." Neither message included numbers. Another relative sent a group text by mid-afternoon, framed like concern. "Let's all calm down and not escalate things." Escalate meant asking where the money went. Escalate meant not pretending this would settle itself. At the break room table, a coworker slid a coffee across and said nothing. The gesture landed heavier than the calls. When the cup tipped and spilled across paperwork, maintenance arrived with towels and a clipboard. A form appeared to document the incident. Time, location, sign here. The spill was resolved in 5 minutes. Family couldn't manage that. After work, the bank lobby smelled like disinfectant and policy. Daniel Ruiz met me at a small desk near the back. He didn't offer sympathy. That helped. "What are you thinking long term?" he asked. "Buying," I said. "Eventually." He pulled up numbers and nodded along, eyes on the screen. "With your current credit history, it's going to take time," he said. "Consistent deposits, stable housing, no surprises." Define surprise. "Things that don't show up on statements," he said. "Or things that do." The printer behind him coughed. A sheet slid out, with a polite header and a refusal dressed in neutral language. Insufficient credit history. Daniel turned it so I could read it. "This isn't personal," he said. "It's automated." "Automated feels very sure of itself," I said. He didn't smile. Linda called while I was still there. The screen lit up with her name. Daniel glanced away, already standing. "Take it," he said. "We'll talk later." The call opened with breath instead of words. "I can't believe you went to the bank already," she said. I needed information. "You needed patience," she replied. "This isn't just about you." "It wasn't just about you either." Her voice dropped. "I raised you." "That didn't come up at closing," I said. Silence, then a sniff. The sound carried just enough to register. "Everyone's asking why you're being like this." "I'm asking where the money went." "It went where it had to." "Which account?" A sigh, rehearsed. "We'll get into details once things settle." The line went dead. Apartment listings loaded that night. Numbers climbed faster than expected. Every option asked for deposits, fees, proof. A leasing agent called back within minutes, cheerful, efficient. "We have something available," she said, "short term." The rent sat above what the spreadsheet liked. Still, the application went through. An email followed immediately. "Thank you for your interest. Please review the attached terms." Terms were clear. Consequences clearer. The next morning brought another family message, this one longer, wrapped in concern and reminders of holidays and favors past. It ended with a suggestion to apologize and move on. At work, overtime filled the afternoon. Boxes moved, orders closed. A system hummed, indifferent but fair. The bank sent a follow-up email at noon. "We regret to inform you." The regret sounded practiced. The attachment was thorough. Daniel called later. "This part's boring," he said. "That's good news." "How long?" I asked. "Depends on consistency," he said. "Months turn into years faster when nothing interrupts them." Evening brought a call from the leasing office. Approval, conditions, a time to sign. The pen felt heavier than it should have. Numbers locked into place. The agent slid a copy across and smiled. "Welcome," she said. Keys changed hands. Rent dates printed cleanly at the bottom. No one mentioned family. No one asked for context. Boxes stacked by the door waited to be moved again. A message from Linda. "We need to sit down." The envelope arrived folded once, stamped clean, addressed with the kind of precision that didn't invite conversation. The county clerk's office thanked me for my request and included copies for reference. No tone, no warning. The transaction summary sat on top. Dates lined up, names matched. A second page showed a loan recorded less than 2 weeks after the sale. Not a small one. The buyer had leveraged the house almost immediately. That didn't fit the version I'd been given. Linda answered on the first ring this time. "They took out a mortgage," I said. "That doesn't mean anything," she replied. "People do that all the time. It means the money didn't have to cover everything. You're reading paperwork like it tells the whole story. It tells part of it." A breath came through the line, controlled. "I had expenses you don't see," she said, "and pressure you don't understand. Which account did the rest go to? That's not fair." The call ended without a goodbye. Later that afternoon, a cousin pulled me aside at a family gathering I hadn't planned to attend. The room buzzed with unrelated conversations, the kind that continued whether you were present or not. "She's still shopping," he said, "just so you know." "What kind of shopping?" "Furniture, electronics. Nothing outrageous," he added quickly, like that made it better. The words landed and stayed. No argument followed. He drifted back to the group, already finished with his part. Night shifts started the same week. The warehouse lights stayed on late, indifferent to schedules. Pallets moved, numbers updated, overtime stacked into columns that felt tangible. Meals shrank. Subscriptions disappeared. Receipts got folded smaller before being filed. Linda texted again. "You're making me sound like a criminal." No response went back. Daniel met me during a short break the next day. Coffee steamed between us. He glanced at the printed pages without touching them. "If you want to buy it back later," he said, "assume the price won't come down. Even if they're leveraged, especially if they're leveraged," he said. "Debt likes to be fed." No suggestion followed, just that. A notification popped up on my phone before the cup cooled. Market update. Median home prices rise again this quarter. The phrasing felt congratulatory. Calls from families slowed, replaced by looks, the kind that waited for explanations. None arrived. Work absorbed the hours. Sleep took what remained. The apartment stayed temporary by design, boxes unopened except for what got used daily. Another message came through from Linda. You could help instead of judging. Help meant writing checks. Help meant not asking where the first one went. At the bank, a savings account opened with minimal ceremony. The teller read disclosures aloud, steady and practiced. Funds may be subject to holds, she said. Transfers are final once processed. The screen waited. A number went in. Smaller than planned, larger than comfortable. An automated email followed before the chair slid back. "Thank you for starting your savings journey." The phrase landed wrong and moved on. Weeks passed without resolution. The buyer's name showed up again on public filings. Adjustments, improvements, the kind that added value without asking permission. Daniel called once, brief. "Rates shifted," he said. "Just flagging it." "Up?" "Always," he said, and ended the call. Another family message arrived late, wrapped in concern and scripture-adjacent language. It suggested patience. It suggested forgiveness. It suggested letting things rest. Money moved instead. Another transfer, then another. The balance climbed in increments that required attention to notice. A listing popped up for a nearby street. Similar size, higher price. The market graph attached showed a steady incline, confident in its direction. At the end of the month, the savings account sent a statement. Clean lines, no commentary, just totals and dates. A transfer confirmation followed seconds later. The contractor's truck showed up before the listing did. That's how it started. A neighbor sent a photo, no caption. Fresh lumber stacked near the curb. A permit taped to the window. By the end of the week, the house wore a new roof and a cleaner front. The listing followed with updated photos and a revised estimate that didn't bother pretending to remember the old number. The price cleared $160 without effort. A message from the bank arrived that afternoon, addressed to Linda and copied to me. The subject line didn't pick sides. Notice of potential insolvency. The body explained options in calm sentences, counseling resources, timelines, consequences. It thanked the recipients for their prompt attention. Linda called 5 minutes later. "They're exaggerating," she said. "This happens to people all the time." "Do you have a plan?" I asked. "What I have is family," she replied, "and family helps." The word help traveled quickly. An aunt reached out first, then an uncle, then someone who hadn't spoken to me in years. "She's your mother," one said. "This is the moment," another added. "Just this once." No one mentioned the sale price. No one asked where the money had gone. The house didn't come up again, except as a problem that needed fixing. At work, overtime stopped being optional. Schedules filled weeks ahead. When a supervisor asked how long the extra shifts would last, the answer stayed simple: as long as they're available. He nodded and added my name to another list. A credit alert arrived the next morning. 2 emails, seconds apart, one addressed to Linda, one to me. Account status update. The language matched exactly. A note at the bottom explained that copies were sent to authorized contacts. Authorization didn't ask how people were related. Linda texted immediately after. "Why are you getting these?" "Because I'm listed," I wrote back. That was new information to her. A typing bubble appeared and vanished. No reply followed. The market moved again. Another alert, another uptick. The graph slanted upward with confidence. A realtor's newsletter praised momentum and encouraged buyers to act decisively. Daniel called during a break between meetings. "They added value fast," he said. "That changes leverage." "Against me." "Against time," he corrected. Same result. No workaround came with the call. He didn't offer one. Family pressure shifted tone by the weekend. Less advice, more expectation. "We're counting on you," an aunt said, voice tight. She's embarrassed. Embarrassment sounded manageable. Bankruptcy did not. A cousin suggested a fundraiser, then laughed like it was a joke. Another offered to mediate, as if this were a misunderstanding that needed better phrasing. Linda finally asked to meet. The request came without specifics. At the cafe, she ordered tea and slid a folded paper across the table. A list. Expenses. Debts. None dated, none sourced. "This is what I've been dealing with," she said. "You don't see the whole picture." "Which part includes the sale?" "That was necessary," she said again. "You can help make it right." "How?" She hesitated, then spoke carefully. "Alone, just until things stabilize." "Stabilize where?" "With the house," she said. "With everything." The word house landed differently now. Not inheritance, not history, an asset she needed access to. "I can't," I said. Her face tightened, then softened. "I never ask you for much." "That's not true," I replied. "You asked without asking." The check came. The server smiled and set it down between us like a neutral party. Linda reached for it, then stopped. I paid and stood. Outside, another alert buzzed. A listing update. The price climbed again. At the apartment, the savings spreadsheet didn't argue. The math showed the gap widening. Transfers that once felt disciplined now looked ceremonial. The plan depended on time the market didn't intend to give. A voicemail from the bank followed before dinner. "This is a courtesy reminder," the message said, "regarding outstanding obligations." Courtesy didn't change outcomes. Linda left 3 messages that night. The last one stayed short. "We're running out of options." The next morning, a realtor's automated email congratulated subscribers on increased equity across the neighborhood. The tone suggested celebration. Another family message arrived, heavier than the rest. "If this goes bad, it's on you." Work filled the day. Pallets moved, numbers closed. The system rewarded consistency without commentary. Back home, the savings account waited. The balance rose slowly, obediently, while the listings ran ahead. The gap stopped feeling temporary. A calendar reminder chimed for the next transfer. The amount stared back, unchanged by context. The number went through, the confirmation appeared, and the screen refreshed again, already preparing for the next step. Calls shifted tone again. Less instruction, more urgency. "Her blood pressure's been up," an aunt said. "This stress isn't helping." Another message followed before a reply formed. "She gave up a lot for you," a cousin wrote. "This is the least you can do." The lease turned out to be open-ended. At work, a supervisor mentioned a new rotation for night shifts. The slot came with better pay and fewer questions. Acceptance happened without discussion. Sleep adjusted. Meals followed the schedule instead of the clock. Linda sent a message that afternoon. "Doctor says I need to avoid stress." No attachment, no report, just the sentence. A request for transparency had been sitting unanswered for weeks. The follow-up went out with fewer words. "I need statements," I wrote. "All accounts. Dates." The response arrived in under a minute. "Why are you doing this to me?" A meeting was set anyway. The kitchen table looked smaller than before, crowded with envelopes that didn't line up. Some opened, others not. Linda talked first. "You don't understand how fast things pile up," she said. "Bills, emergencies." "Show me," I said. Tears came quickly, not loud, measured. I never thought my own daughter would interrogate me. I'm asking for records. You think I'd lie to you? The question didn't wait for an answer. You've always been so cold, she continued. No feeling, just rules. The word cold had traveled well through the family. Which account received the sale proceeds, I asked. She waved at the papers. It moved around. Where? Her voice rose. I told you, family needs. Names. Silence filled the space where details should have been. Then anger replaced it. After everything I've done, she said, you're keeping score. A realization settled without ceremony. Silence had trained people. Decisions made elsewhere had become routine. The absence of resistance had been interpreted as consent. I won't cover anything else, I said. Her head snapped up. What does that mean? No transfers, no loans, no checks. The crying stopped. You'd let me fail. I won't fund it. That house isn't yours, I said. Her chair scraped back. You owe me. The word owed landed cleanly, unambiguous. I owe clarity, I said, not money. The next messages from family arrived faster than before. Someone accused me of abandonment. Another suggested therapy, as if this were a mood problem. A third reminded me of holidays. A bank alert followed in the middle of it. Scheduled transfer completed. That one was old, automatic, forgotten. The irony didn't comment on itself. Daniel called that evening. This gets harder before it changes, he said. Just so you know. No advice? You didn't ask for any, he replied. Linda tried again the next morning. No greeting this time. I can't pay next month, she said. Then you need to talk to them, I replied. You're supposed to help. I'm supposed to stop pretending. The call ended with a sharp click. Work absorbed the day. Tasks stacked. Overtime hours logged cleanly. A coworker asked if everything was okay. Busy, I said. At lunch, another alert arrived. This one addressed to Linda, copied to me again. Action required. Review repayment options. The language stayed neutral. The timing didn't. A text followed seconds later. Did you do this? No, I wrote. That was true. By evening, the family thread went silent. Not resolved. Paused. A kind of ceasefire that felt temporary. At the apartment, the savings account glowed on the screen, steady and insufficient. The market update pinged again, cheerful as ever. The plan that depended on patience had run out of room. A final message came from Linda before sleep. I hope you can live with yourself. The bank statements arrived as a compressed file with a password Daniel had texted earlier. No explanation attached, just access. Transactions lined up in rows that didn't argue. Dates matched the sale. Amounts broke down cleanly. The proceeds didn't disappear into emergencies or shared debts. They scattered across retail charges, short-term transfers, and a private investment account that closed 6 months later at a loss. A gym membership showed up twice. Electronics followed, then the investment, flagged, frozen, resolved. Nothing illegal, nothing redeemable. Linda answered after several rings. They weren't debts, I said. They were purchases. A pause stretched longer this time. You went digging, she said. I checked. That money was mine to manage. It wasn't. I did what I thought would work, she replied. It didn't. The call ended with a soft click, like a decision made elsewhere. Legal notices arrived next. Certified mail, standard language, a timeline for filings, instructions on what not to do next. The tone never shifted, even when it explained consequences that would rearrange her life. Another email followed, automated, confirming receipt. Thank you for submitting your documents. Family messages slowed to nothing. The group thread stopped updating. Names that once hovered at the edge of conversations disappeared without announcement. Silence did what arguments couldn't. The buyer's realtor reached out 2 days later. Circumstances have changed, she said. My client might consider selling. For how much? She named a number that required a breath before responding. There would be conditions, she added, firm ones. A follow-up email arrived before the call ended. An exciting investment opportunity awaits. The phrasing didn't flinch. Daniel reviewed the numbers later that week. It's risky, he said, long term. How long? Years, he said, maybe longer. And if I don't? The price keeps moving, he said. Markets don't pause for family history. Linda left a voicemail that night. No tears, no accusations. They're starting the process, she said. I don't know where I'll land. No request followed, just the statement. Another legal notice arrived the next morning, copied again to both of us. Deadlines listed in bullets, options narrowed. The system stayed consistent. A realtor's newsletter chimed in an hour later, congratulating subscribers on rising equity across the city. Work continued without comment. Extra shifts filled the calendar. Checks cleared. The savings account grew at a speed that still didn't catch up. At lunch, Daniel sent a single line. If you do this, commit. Linda called again that evening. You got what you wanted, she said. I wanted the truth. And now you deal with it. A pause, then a laugh that didn't carry humor. You always did think you were better. No, I said. I just stopped pretending. The buyer's counteroffer arrived with a deadline, terms attached, penalties spelled out, a deposit required within days. The loan application screen opened easily enough. Numbers filled themselves in from saved profiles. The interest rate blinked, then settled. A disclosure page followed, long and thorough. By proceeding, you acknowledge the risk. That line stayed. Linda sent one last message before midnight. I hope this was worth it. The agreement came back with tabs flagged and margins tight. Nothing generous, nothing hidden. The buyer's attorney highlighted penalties in plain language and asked for confirmation before releasing keys. The deadline didn't blink. Daniel reviewed the final draft over a short call. These terms favor them, he said, but they're clean. Clean works, I said. A pause, then a keyboard click on his end. Once this records, he added, there's no shared leverage. That was the point. The deposit cleared the next morning. A notification followed within minutes, polite and final. The county recorder's office confirmed receipt and provided a reference number. Ownership transferred without ceremony. A line on a page moved from one name to another. The house came back with a list of conditions. Repairs already done, fees attached, interest ticking. None of it felt personal. That helped. Linda lost her apartment the same week. The notice arrived by mail, copied again. Eviction timelines, resources listed in bullets. Phone numbers offered support during business hours. She called after sunset. I need somewhere to stay, she said. No explanation followed. No apology either. When, I asked, tonight, if possible. A car pulled into the driveway an hour later. A suitcase followed, then another. She stood at the door without knocking, eyes fixed past me. This didn't have to be like this, she said. It did, I replied. The kitchen table held a folder. Inside, a standard lease. Market rate, deposit spelled out. Rent due on the 1st. She flipped through the pages too fast. You're charging me? Yes. I'm your mother. And this is my property. The word property landed with weight neither of us pretended not to feel. You're doing this out of spite, she said. I'm doing it in writing. She sat. The chair didn't creak. Papers slid into place. I don't have many options, she said. That's true. The lease waited. The pen stayed capped. I raised you, she said again. I sacrificed. And I'm offering housing, I said, with terms. Her hand shook when the pen came out. The signature took longer than necessary. Ink pressed hard enough to show through. A system alert arrived while the page was still warm. Tenant profile created successfully. The phrasing didn't acknowledge context. Linda stayed quiet after that, not reflective, just occupied. Boxes stacked near the hall. The house adjusted without comment. Credit notices followed over the next few days. Options closed, limits reduced, accounts flagged. Each message used careful language to explain why fewer choices remained. Daniel checked in once. "Everything recorded," he said. "You're the sole owner." "Good." "That's all," he replied. Family didn't call. Silence held. Rent posted automatically the following week, late by 2 days. A reminder email went out without asking permission. The subject line stayed neutral. Payment overdue. Linda read it twice, then looked up. "You set this up?" "Yes." "It feels cold." "It's consistent." She paid that night. The receipt arrived seconds later. "Thank you for your payment." The system moved on. Work settled back into routine. Shifts normalized. Sleep followed. The spreadsheet steadied, no longer chasing a moving target. One evening, Linda lingered near the doorway. "You didn't have to do it this way," she said. "There wasn't another way that worked." She nodded once and went to her room. The house held its shape. Bills posted, payments cleared. The lease remained where it was signed, unremarkable and binding. Another rent cycle approached. A calendar reminder chimed. The notification didn't ask how anyone felt about it. The court notice arrived midweek, folded twice, stamped, finished. Bankruptcy discharged. Obligations restructured. Assets listed and closed. The language stayed neutral from start to end, like a form that had done this many times before. Linda read it at the table without comment. The paper shook once, then steadied. "So that's it," she said. "That's what it says," I replied. No argument followed, no appeal to history. The document didn't leave room for either. Family didn't call anymore. No one checked in. No one asked if things could be smoothed over. The silence felt administrative, not emotional. The story had moved past the part where opinions mattered. Rent posted on the 1st, exactly at 9 a.m. An automated receipt followed seconds later. Payment received. Thank you for your prompt submission. The message went to both of us. Same wording, same signature. The system didn't acknowledge who used to be whose parent. Linda stared at the email, then set the phone down. "They send it every month?" she asked. "Yes." "Even if I'm standing right here?" "Yes." She nodded once. The routine settled in after that. Payments, receipts, calendar reminders that didn't care how anyone slept the night before. Work stayed steady. Orders moved. Schedules filled. When a new hire asked how long I'd been coordinating logistics, the answer stayed simple. Long enough. Budget reviews replaced arguments. Spreadsheets behaved when given consistent inputs. Accounts balanced. Nothing surprising happened for a while, which felt earned. Linda kept to herself. Conversations narrowed to utilities and mail. When something broke, a request came in writing. When rent was late by a few hours one month, the reminder went out anyway. Payment pending. She paid before dinner. The receipt arrived before the plate cooled. "Thank you for your payment." That tone never changed. No final talk happened. No apology arrived wrapped in reflection. There wasn't a moment where everything lined up neatly. The relationship settled into its new shape without ceremony, held together by clauses and due dates. A message came from Daniel one afternoon. "All records are clear," he wrote. "Nothing outstanding." I replied with a brief acknowledgement. That was enough. On a Friday after work, the office emptied early. The parking lot thinned. A routine stop followed. Same place as always, a counter, a receipt, a nod from the clerk who never asked questions. Outside, the phone buzzed once. Another rent receipt, already logged for next month's reminder. The system stayed ahead of everyone. Keys sat heavy in my pocket, familiar now. The house was no longer a point of argument, just an address, just property. Linda didn't come with me when I left. She didn't ask where I was going. The arrangement didn't require updates. At the crosswalk, traffic paused. A notification popped up from the bank congratulating customers on maintaining positive account activity. "Keep up the good work." The phrasing felt misplaced and accurate at the same time. The light changed, steps carried forward, nothing followed that needed holding on to.